Hey, this is Cartier Customs. I'm going to do a quick video on headlight restoration. What I'm going to go ahead and do is on this guy, I'm going to do 1500, 3000, and then I will do a cut and buff. I will be using my dual action orbital 3-inch polisher sander to do the 15, then the 3000, and then the cut and buff. Now there are other ways to do this. Once you go ahead and clean it up, you could put wax on it, you could put a ceramic coat on it, you could also put a clear coat on it. So I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, I'm going to start sanding this with a 1500 grit. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is clean off the assembly. It ensures that no dirt is going to get trapped between that and your sandpaper and create any type of deep scratches or grooves. Alright, so now that that's cleaned off, I'm going to go ahead and start hitting it with 1500 grit. Alright, so I went ahead, I just did a dry sand at first. And basically, I do it dry at the first time, that way I can see really what I'm going up against. So this is a really bad one. So now that I see what I'm up against, I'm going to go ahead. I'll go over this 2 or 3 times with 1500 again and some water for a wet sand, and I'll cut you guys back on. Alright, so I went ahead and I went over it with the wet sand of 1500. Now as you can see, it's taking out that color. It's still hazy, but that mildewy color's out. And a way to know that you're getting it out is especially if you see it on your rag, which you might not be able to pick up on camera, but trust me, there is that brownish tan color coming off. So basically, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep wet sanding this over and over until all that color is gone, and I have a nice, even, matte, clear. It's not gonna be a clear, it's gonna be hazy and matte, but you'll be able to see, like, you can see this is nice and clean up here versus where it's kind of dirtier and more tan down here. So, like I said, I'll keep going over that with 1500 wet, change the paper as needed because it will gunk up on you. And then after that, I'll go to 3000 before I do a cut and buff. All right, so I've went over it 3 times now with the 1500. And a way to know that you're done is instead of brown stuff coming off sanding, you'll start having like a white milky substance come out. And what that is that's the actual either clear coat or the plastic itself. So you can also do a wet test, and as you can see with the wet test, when I get the fog away, it's pretty clear. So what I'm going to do next, since I've done my 1500, is I'm going to hit it with my 3000 grit. I'll probably go over it about 2 times. And after that, I'll show you guys what the result is before I start my cutting and buffing. See how that's clearing it up? So you see how the 3000 is already making it clear where my 1500 scratches are still foggy unless I wipe them off? That's how you know the 3000 is working. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead 3000 this whole thing probably twice, and I'll cut you guys back on. Alright, so I went over it twice with the 3000 grit. Go ahead and wipe it off. Alright, so it's still going to be hazy, but it's nice and smooth. And that's what's real important. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to cut and buff. I'm going to use the same DA polisher to do that. And then for that, I'll be either using some of this ultimate compound right here, or actually I got some ultra cut right here. And then after I hit it with that, I've got some polish that I don't know where it went, but I'll be using that too. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all the buffing stuff ready. All right, so I'm gonna take the 3000 grit off, and I'm gonna use this foam cutting pad. It's considered a heavy cut pad. I'll use that with this ultimate compound. And when you go ahead, and if you got a new pad, you gotta prime it first. And all that means is that to prime it is you gotta get all this compound and you gotta work it around the whole pad. And that's priming the pad. After that, you should just have to add a little bit of compound here and there for what you need to buff, and it should give you the best finish. So I'm gonna go ahead, get this primed, get it on the 3-inch polisher, and then I'm gonna do a little section just to show you guys like the difference between the 3000 grit and after it's cut. All right, so I've got my prime pad for the most part. I'm gonna go ahead and do just a little section just to show you guys the difference. Guess I'll just like do up in this corner maybe or something, like right around here. Go ahead, wipe that off. See how it's shinier right there? Now keep in mind that's just a cut. I got to go over the whole thing twice because this is dual action. It won't cut as fast as a rotary, but and dual action just means that while it rotates, it also oscillates, where a rotary just goes clockwise. So, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to cut this probably 2 or 3 times, and I'll cut you guys back on. So just to give you guys a little better bit of an idea of how much better it looks after you cut it. This is after one pass. I'm not even done with the whole pass, but you can see where I stopped versus where I did the cut. So, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and go over the rest of this, go over it one more time, and I'll cut you on before polish. All right, so that's after I cut the headlight twice. Now I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna do the same thing I did with the compound, but now I'm gonna use some polish. And I'm going to use a different pad. I'm going to use a polishing pad this time to go ahead and do a final polish on it. Alright, and of course we're going to want to do the same thing with our polishing pad. Get the polish compound, and we're going to work it in and prime the pad. Alright. Now with that all pushed into the pad and primed, we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to go over this with polish. Probably going to go over this 2 to 3 different times. Come on, it's hard to do with 2 hands. And you're not going to be able to see the difference on camera, but it does look a lot cleaner. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go over this with the polish for the final step, and I'll show you the last piece of it. Alright, and there you go. Now keep in mind, this isn't perfect. You know, this headlight's been on the car for literally over 6 years. And I know that for a fact because I've had the car for that long. So sadly, the outside can only be as good as the inside. And yeah, but it looks a million times better than what it was before if you look at the beginning of the video. And it's going to be a good spare to keep around in case something happens to one of my other headlight assemblies. So thank you guys for watching. Once again, just went over it with 1500, 3000, and then I did a cut and buff. Like I said, you can put a wax on there, a ceramic coat, or you could even clear coat over that to give it years and years of protection. So thank you for watching Cartier Customs. Have a great day.